Bitcoin, new all-time high weekly close. The stock markets, new all-time high weekly closes. Last week, new all-time highs for the commodities markets like copper, new fresh highs for silver. The crypto market, new all-time high weekly closes as well. And real estate, new all-time high national average prices for June. We're seeing a lot of new all-time high prices. There is a lot in the background going on that would suggest these prices are unsustainable. But before we get to that unsustainable part, I think we're going to go through the beginning of the end if we're not already in it. And in hindsight, we'll know whether we have been in it or not. My guess is that we are. And if you have been following the channel, thank you very much. Today's video, I'll give you an update. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel as I explain what the beginning of the end entails, how I intend to trade through it, hopefully how you can also trade and invest through it longer term, what I intend to do when we get to the peak, and what I intend to do as we correct from that point. Once we get to that peak, which I think is going to be the biggest that we'll see in history, and it's already beginning to look like that, the correction, the crash, will also be the biggest in history. It'll be the biggest in terms of dollars. That is pretty much mathematically baked in now. We've got the most amount of debt. Most of this money is going into the system or into assets. If you're not owning assets, then you're basically getting left behind, unfortunately, which is not good for society. No matter what the rich try to tell you, or no matter what, I guess, investing and financial influencers might say, you know, everyone's got their own chance, but at the end of the day, we need everyone to also be doing at least something basic. Everyone needs to be doing at least somewhat well so that there isn't unrest, which then leads to wars. And so we're also into this war stage of the cycle. So I think the title of, you know, the beginning of the end is quite fitting, considering where we are in the 18-year cycle, in this winner's curse phase. Basically, those who are in are making profits. Those who are not in are beginning to get FOMO. Those who are sitting on the sidelines expecting a bear market, as opposed to just hoping and waiting for a good entry point, they're going to get even wiped out even more and might get in later. And unfortunately, the last class, those who just don't have the means to get in, they're obviously going to be left behind. Today's video, I want to just discuss where I think most of us are at, either where we're in with as much as we can, but keeping it safe. Of course, you don't want to be absolutely balls to the wall in case there is some sort of correction. You need to have some sort of backup. And others who are doing relatively well, so it doesn't really matter for them where they come out. They basically have put themselves in a good position after following the markets for quite some time. So if you haven't already, hit the like, subscribe to the channel. Big ass dog here. That shocked me. Anyway, subscribe to the channel. Heaps more coming up. I'm doing a video like this today. 1, sceneries are amazing. 2, power's gone out. So we're out here on remote islands. There is nothing around me besides other small islands. And yeah, we're basically waiting for the power to come back on. Now, our daily videos cover many detailed charts, data, indicators, and our forte, the cycle analysis, to help guide us through the investment cycle. So if you're a brand new subscriber to the channel, then I highly encourage you to get our weekly reports on Bitcoin, altcoins, and the economy, including the real estate cycle. They're easy to read in under 5 minutes each, making them extremely digestible for all investor levels. There are 3 reports coming your way starting your week from Tuesday. It'll get you up to speed on how we forecast the markets and how we've been able to profit during uncertain times leading into and out of the cycle peak. It's completely free, so subscribe today using the link in the top of the video description and you'll receive your first report shortly. So this week is obviously a big one. We've got the interest rate decision coming up. Powell is suggesting no rate cuts. Trump obviously wants a lot of rate cuts, big rate cuts. And after their meeting last week, where it looked like Trump was schooled and Powell was also schooled on how much these costs are to the renovations of the Fed, Trump said they had a good meeting, and he thinks that Jay Powell is going to cut rates. The market doesn't expect that, according to the interest rate decisions on CME, but even if there is a cut, it seems like the markets are in a good, strong position to continue with the trend, which at the moment is very much up. So you've got pretty big upside here. 18-year cycle. We are in the winner's curse phase. New all-time high national prices. Yes, there are going to be some states and cities that are not hitting new all-time high prices. That is normal when you look at an average. Not every city is going to be at new all-time highs. Some have had their runs. Runs meaning going up, and they are now pausing or correcting. And if they are correcting pretty hard, well, they went up pretty damn hard. Just like altcoins. Those that run up super hard eventually correct super hard. It looks like Bitcoin has got further to go, even if we are still in a paused state before we break out to anything more significant. And along the way, I've alluded to the fact that we're going to have significant, or I think severe sort of volatility because of where we sit. So you're basically just seeing the markets run straight up. When things go straight up, they basically come down pretty heavy as well. That is not talking about the top. That's just talking about corrections along the way. And so far, we only saw a correction from 123,000 down to 114,000. So $9,000 at this level is not even 10%. So we haven't even had a significant correction when you look at what we've seen in the past. And as the market climbs, I've talked about checking, basically the buyers checking the sellers just to make sure that everything is still balanced. It looks like we're getting a little bit more out of balanced with that as the prices tend to run higher. Basically what that looks like is more people are buying the dip sooner, and then that leads to instability because everyone's starting to get FOMO. That's part of what I'm talking about in the intro, where I said that there are people sitting on the sidelines waiting for a pullback. Then that pullback doesn't come as low as they expect it to come. So that starts to put pressure on them. And then those who are basically expecting this to be the all-time high, like they expected 112,000 to be the all-time high, like they expected 108,000 to be the all-time high, and potentially even thought the $74,000 top in March 2024 was the all-time high, those people also get dragged in towards the end. How could it all unfold? I'm not trying to claim to be Nostradamus on how it unfolds in that sense. I would have a guess that it's probably got something to do with over leverage, but there could be something else that triggers first that then leads to some of these treasury companies having to unwind their positions that they have built with their Bitcoin treasury companies. Essentially, whatever the hell they were doing before, whatever their business is in, now they're basically putting all their capital towards Bitcoin, and that might have to unwind, or their stock will collapse at a greater rate than what Bitcoin drops at. If Bitcoin goes down 10%, maybe their stock is so highly leveraged that it goes down 20% or 30%. We'll have to wait and see. And then that causes more and more of the dominoes to fall. So I think we still got further to go up based on what I'm seeing with the structure of the charts. As we lead into the peak, I think it's very, very important, especially if you're new in the market, not to get too carried away with any of the headlines or any of the narratives that continue to build, whereby, like what I'm seeing now, this time is different. They're essentially saying this time is different, but they also know it is different this time because MicroStrategy is here, because there's more leverage, because the money supply continues to grow globally. That doesn't mean this time is different. It means that the narratives and the stories and the topics and the fundamentals are different, but human psychology won't be different, because all those things can continue on. And if people believe this time is different, then they're going to jump in quicker, which then causes the price to run up higher, faster, harder. They're buying up at higher and higher prices, meaning there are higher and higher lows, and it starts to run a little bit quicker. That could be the cause of the blow off top. And then when things turn, that's essentially what weekends are. Not saying that you have to hold, because in some cases people cannot hold, but that essentially creates a weak market, and that's what then corrects the market, like we see pretty much every single time in history. So that's what I'm thinking is continuing to build. I personally am not out of the market at this stage. I think there's still further to run. The same deal with real estate and metals, stock market as well, further to run. What happens when we get to the peak? I think we're going to see some big news headlines, some big calls from Trump in particular, maybe people who follow him, but really the big names there. saying that we've done it, we've been able to overcome the boom and bust cycle that happens in the markets, and we're the greatest, so on and so forth. This is not a political thing, so hopefully you haven't tuned out yet. Every single government, no matter which side it is, does it. It's just, you can't say that the economy is bad when you're in power. It's not, you just wouldn't do it. It's a suicide mission. So you have to say it's good, and typically you will say it's really good at some sort of peak. It happened in early 2020. Trump announced that, the economy was the best it's ever seen. That was sort of, I think it was at their State of the something meeting that they do. Bam, that was near the top of the market. And then, of course, yeah, you could blame it on COVID, but essentially it was a lot of froth. And that froth was building through 2018 and into that second half of 2019, which then led to a weak economy. Big calls came out that we're all good, and then, of course, the market came down. So just giving you a recent example in history. It's happened before. It happened in 2007. It's happened before that in 1999 into 2000. It happens all the time. So it's not just one political party. So we get to the peaks. Hopefully you've been able to take enough profits. If you haven't, make plans now. What do those plans look like? What does that even mean when people say that? I like to look at it in terms of risk and reward. I need to have enough left in the market for it to be worth my risk and get that reward. If I don't have enough in the market as the prices are going up, then I'm pretty much wasting my time. But if I have too much in it, then I could be left not getting the gains that I've hopefully baked in from this point forward. So this is where it gets tricky. And if it was easy, everyone would be multimillionaires. But of course it's not. So that's why I think it's really important to at least have that plan. And if you're unsure of what that is, TIA Premium can help you out. Links to that are in the video description. Many of our students have made multiple times their investment. You can see that from them personally with their reviews. Link in the video description for the free reports that are coming out. And then you also get an automated email that shows you where to go to check out these reviews in Discord. That's all free as well. So review those if you wish. So in terms of setting yourselves up, we get to that point. Now we've got profits, hopefully. If we don't have profits, that's a different story, but hopefully we've got something in the case. What do we do next? Well, you've got a couple of options. You can sit on your hands, or you can try and trade the market short. I don't really know any other options there. You're basically in or you're not. If you're in, well, if the market's going down, you probably want to be short. Is there anything that's going to be going long at that point? Last cycle, we saw silver and gold go up, but they also crashed for about 6 months when the stock market also crashed through some of those serious periods when Lehman Brothers was going down. So it's not an easy ride up, especially through the major corrections that we see in the 18-year cycle when we get to the peak and then the 4-year correction. So those years, I think, are going to be the most difficult because it's going to go longer than what we've seen leading up to this point. So the longest correction that we've seen, and most people have not lived through this, is the 2008 into the low of 2009. That was about an 18-month correction. That was from the top in 2007, all of 2008. So that's an 18-month correction. It's nearly 20 years and we've never seen one of those. Prior to that, 2000 top down to the low in 2000, I want to say early 2003. I think it was March 2003. That one there was about a 2.5 to 3 year correction. That one there was the longest one. You had to go all the way back to the early 80s. So that's another 20 years prior to that as well. So most people would not have in their living memory of what a significant drawn out bear market is. And we could pump all the money into it, but if it doesn't work, then that's going to be an even more serious sign. So that's some of the things that I've talked about on the channel. Just hit the like and subscribe if you want to stay up to date with this sort of information. I've also, so I'll talk about the forecasts and how they're going. I put out forecasts every year. So far, they're starting to swing around. But I just want to finish the topic of what to do in that drawdown and then next. Well, two things. Either we sit in cash, get a little bit of profit from interest rates, right? And if the interest rates have to stay high, then, if you've got some money in the bank, maybe you will be earning 3, 4, 5, 6, 7% interest. I just don't know what the Fed is going to have to do in order to bring money back into the country to buy the bonds, and the yields are going to have to be higher as well to entice that money to come into the country, especially if something goes wrong. Maybe they default. You know, they have been downgraded already. So that's the rock and the hard place that the US is currently in, and why Powell's also potentially not dropping the rates yet, talking about inflation and tariffs that just keep getting prolonged. You know, that one day they're on, one day they're off, and last we saw that the EU and US have come to a decision, but then that also gets pushed out. So learn how to go short, learn how to protect your capital that you have, and then we look for opportunities. This is a long process. Looking for opportunities, I think, come in the way of real estate around those lows. Maybe Bitcoin, we just don't know yet because it has not been through an 18-year cycle and it hasn't gone through a multi-year bear market. The longest bear market Bitcoin has gone through has been 14 months back in, I want to say 2015 from the peak. Sorry, 2014. The top was in 2013. The bottom was in January 2015. That's where the 14 months comes from. And then we look for opportunities, being quite patient, and I think we have the opportunity to be patient then. So to me, we're at the beginning of the end. The end is the peak of the cycle. Then we start whatever the opposite is, the end of the beginning, somewhere around 2029, 2030. That's the estimate at this point. Things can change, but that's the estimate at the moment. And so far, the 18-year cycle has been dead on, with new all-time highs in real estate in 2025, new all-time highs in the stock markets, and the economy still pushing ahead. So yeah, that's where I think things pivot to from that point. Now, I might wrap it up here. Hit the like, subscribe. Free reports coming out this week. Link in the top of the video description. And I'll pick it back up with a video tomorrow. So stay tuned. Hopefully the power is back on and I can update you with the charts for Bitcoin, stock markets, commodities, and some of those alts, which I saw Sui also break $4, sitting somewhere around 430 or 440. XRP still holding out well, and Ethereum also pushing a bit higher. Oh, it was the forecasts. I'm glad you stuck around this long. The forecasts are also coming to fruition, I think. I've got 13 of them there. It's on X. I may leave a link to that in the video description here. And the stock markets to hit some of the price targets I've got there. One in particular, I remember as I looked at it just before, 6,700 points for the S&P 500, which is currently sitting at 6,400. I remember I wrote this in late December 2024. All right, so before the tariff crash, before that sort of thing, I wrote these then. This is just based off extensions that I use from understanding GAN analysis, which of course is also part of what we do in TIA Premium. So learning how to find price targets to the upside when we're in price discovery. So that helps us take profits or reduce our exposure to the market at these critical points. The other forecast I'll make mention quickly here is Ethereum versus BTC. So 2025, I think the Ethereum BTC will outperform. It's got a little way to go. The next resistance level is, or the major resistance level, I should say, is around 5 to 5.3%. I think that could be a pretty reasonable level for ETH BTC to get to before it finds some significant resistance. If it breaks through that, then we've got some good ground to go into the 6, 7, 8s, but I don't think it's going to get past 8.5 to 9%. That's a major 50% level. So yeah, Ethereum probably can keep running pretty well. It's only at 3.2, 3.3% right now of Bitcoin's value. I think it's got further to run. So that could be another good option here, but then the things are going to get far more volatile. Comments. Let me know down below. Put a emoji of waves or power out. Fuck it. Just put waves. So I'll look at it before I know that you made it this far in the video, and I'll see you guys back at the next one. Thanks for sitting with me on the beaches out here in the Mentawai Islands. Hopefully we get some surf happening later. All right. Peace out, guys. And there's my view while I was filming with you guys. Let's head back to the villa and have a look at what's going on through here. Oh, here's the big dog. Local dog here at the accommodation. Hello, boy. There's also a cow floating around somewhere, but not quite sure where. All right, have a fantastic day, and wish me luck if we get any surf. Peace out.
Hiya, buddy. How are you? You're a big old dog, hey? Monster. No, you're not coming inside, mate.